Mai was rushed to the hospital in a panic, but fortunately her injuries were minor and her life was not in danger. However, during the examination, doctors discovered multiple long scratches across the girl's back. When asked who had hurt her, Mai stubbornly refused to answer. The marks looked disturbingly similar to those Yoshi once inflicted during one of her past breakdowns. Convinced that his wife's illness had relapsed, Tada decided to send Mai to her grandmother's house for safety while arranging for Yoshi to rest under medical supervision. Yoshi agreed to be hospitalized, but only on one condition. The doll had to be sent to a temple and burned. She was certain it posed a threat to her daughter. Tada contacted nearby temples, only to learn that cremation slots were fully booked until the following month. For now, he could only submit photos to reserve a position. While photographing the doll inside its box, he noticed a maker's signature. After researching online, he was stunned to discover that it was crafted by Yasumoto, a renowned doll maker from the Showa era. The doll had been modeled after his own daughter and was considered a rare treasure, once sought after by elites. Soon after sending the photos, the temple called back, unexpectedly scheduling the cremation for the very next day. The eagerness in their tone unsettled him, but he agreed without overthinking it. Curiosity led him to watch an online video about Yasumoto. It recounted how the artisan's 4-year-old daughter had mysteriously disappeared. His wife became mentally unstable, clinging obsessively to her daughter's favorite doll until her death. She was buried with it. Rumors claim the doll later crawled out of the grave, searching endlessly for its lost owner. Thai bloggers had once traveled to Yasumoto's hometown Kami Island in Niigata to uncover the truth. But the island was accessible only by a single road and 2 small paths revealed during low tide. They failed to locate the grave and returned empty-handed. Tada dismissed the story as superstition. Meanwhile, at the grandmother's house, she put Mai to bed and went to the restroom. When she returned, she saw Mai standing silently in the living room. Assuming her granddaughter wanted attention, she offered her a drink. Suddenly, Mai leaped onto her back. The old woman laughed it off at first, though she felt strangely uneasy, as if the doll nearby were alive. Troubled, she threw it into the storage room and asked Tada to send over a childcare monitor for extra safety. While setting up the monitor, Tada accidentally pressed playback and overheard a chilling conversation between Mai and the doll. The doll claimed its hometown was Niigata Kami Island, the burial place of Yasumoto's wife and daughter. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Grabbing the glass case once used to seal the doll, he hurried to his mother's house. At that moment, a strange noise echoed from the storage area. The grandmother went to check and found only a stuck robot vacuum, but the doll had vanished. Mai, who had been asleep moments before, was gone too. Frantic, the old woman rushed outside, asking passersby if they had seen a little girl holding a doll. Shockingly, several people reported seeing 2 little girls walking hand in hand toward the riverbank. The grandmother hurried there and spotted Mai sitting blankly on the bridge. Before she could reach her, Mai suddenly leaped off. When Tada arrived, the house was empty. Moments later, Mai staggered back, dragging the doll behind her, her mouth smeared with blood. Tada immediately locked the doll back inside the cabinet. Police soon found the grandmother, unconscious by the river after a passerby reported the incident. She was too shaken to remember clearly what had happened. Surveillance footage revealed that she had rushed to save Mai on the bridge but was then attacked by another small figure dressed in white. The blood around Mai's mouth suggested something horrifying. The child sitting on the bridge at first might not have been Mai at all, but the doll. The one who attacked the grandmother was the real Mai, examining his mother's wounds. Tada saw 2 perfectly aligned bite marks, so strong they had even snapped her watch strap. As Mai slept, he prepared to compare her teeth to the marks, dreading what he might confirm. At 10 o'clock the next morning, the incineration ceremony began as scheduled. Everything appeared normal. The monks placed the doll inside a white cloth bag covered in sacred scriptures. After chanting solemn prayers, the high monks performed a purification ritual and sent the bag into the furnace, where it was slowly reduced to ashes. Watching the flames consume it, Tada believed the nightmare had finally come to an end. He had no idea that something far more terrifying was waiting. The doll burned that morning was only a substitute. One of the monks, tempted by greed, had secretly switched the real doll with a fake, intending to sell the authentic one for money. Unfortunately for him, the buyer's offer was lower than expected. As soon as the monk stepped outside with the stolen doll, he was struck by a sudden wave of nausea. He collapsed and vomited thick clumps of long black hair onto the ground. Horrified, passersby rushed him to the hospital, coincidentally the very hospital where Tada worked. Soon after, the abbot arrived at the hospital holding the real doll. That was when Tada learned the truth. The abbot admitted that the doll was too malevolent to be purified through ordinary rites. It could not be saved. He recommended that Tada consult a spiritual care expert named Kanda. That same afternoon, Tada contacted Kanda, who immediately warned him not to touch the doll and not to let anyone else handle it. During a brief distraction in their conversation, however, a curious female colleague picked up the doll. As she shook it lightly, strange rattling noises echoed from inside. Something fell out. Alarmed, Tada ordered a medical inspection. The results were chilling. Inside the doll's body was a complete child's skeleton. Even its teeth were real. At that moment, Yoshi burst into the room and froze at the sight. The couple immediately called the police. Officers arrived and decided to take the doll for investigation. Just as they stepped outside, Kanda himself appeared. With a single glance, he sensed that the doll was far from ordinary. He photographed it and handed the image to one of the officers, warning him to drive carefully. The police car led the way, with Tada, Yoshi, and Kanda following behind. On the road, Kanda quietly lifted the glass lid of the display case containing the doll. The spells pasted inside were not meant for human eyes, they were written for the doll to read. Viewed from the back, they revealed an ancient incantation long forgotten. It's designed to bind the doll to one place and prevent it from spreading its curse. Otherwise, it would eventually be destroyed by its own malice. Bored during the drive, the officer glanced at the photo of the doll and nearly suffered a heart attack. Soon, both vehicles entered a tunnel. Suddenly, the officers realized the doll in their passenger seat had vanished. A little girl appeared in front of their car and was struck. But when the officer got out to check, there was no body. After searching frantically, he discovered a small figure caught beneath the wheel. Moments later, Tada's car arrived to find the officer kneeling on the ground, clutching the doll and sobbing uncontrollably. The terrifying visions had been projections of his own darkest guilt. Kanda quickly cast a restraining spell, mobilizing the officer and sealing the doll back into his reinforced box. Kanda had already contacted a doll collector, who might know the doll's origins. The trio soon met an elderly man in a wheelchair. At a glance, he identified the doll as Yasumoto's creation. When informed about the skeleton hidden inside, he nodded grimly and revealed the horrifying truth. Years ago, when he was a young village policeman, Yasumoto had come to him claiming he wished to confess. The rumors about his daughter Rei's disappearance were fabricated. In reality, Rei had been frail and chronically ill since birth. Her mother, unable to bear her suffering, attempted to end her pain, but survived. Rei died instead. To conceal the crime, Yasumoto skinned and preserved his daughter's remains, crafting the doll from her flesh and bones. He later buried his wife and the doll together. When police exhumed the grave, only the wife's remains were found. The doll had vanished, likely stolen by grave robbers and sold repeatedly until it eventually reached Yoshi's family. The collector believed that Rei's spirit and her mother's resentment were trapped within the doll, forcibly separated and twisted by anguish. The only solution was to return it to Kami Island in Nagata and bury it beside her mother once more. Having endured the agony of losing her own child, Yoshi insisted on accompanying Kanda. Tada reluctantly agreed. Online sources described Kami Island as a notorious haunted location. Yet when they reviewed a photograph from a travel video, Kanda noticed something alarming. 5 people appeared in both the departure and return images, meaning 6 must have been present, including the photographer. The missing figure was likely Rei's spirit. They arrived at a small hotel opposite the island, but high tide had submerged the only path across. They would have to wait. That night, Kanda donned ritual robes and prepared sacred artifacts to locate the grave's exact position. When he opened the box, a foul stench burst forth, and the doll's face twisted grotesquely. Using a map, Kanda marked a rough location, scanned it repeatedly, zooming and recalibrating to pinpoint the grave. Logically, the ritual should have appeased the doll. Instead, the ceremony was violently interrupted by a sudden earthquake. The altar overturned, plunging the room into darkness. In the chaos, the doll escaped from the box. Kanda quickly instructed Yoshi to hold the camera and track the doll's position. Tada grabbed a heavy sack, preparing to capture it. Meanwhile, Kanda began chanting urgently, weaving spells to restrain the vengeful spirit before it could vanish into the night once again. After an exhausting struggle inside the darkened room, the three of them finally managed to subdue the doll. Kanda chanted while Tada forced it back into the sack covered with talismans, and Yoshi held the camera steady to track its movements. Just as they secured it, however, Kanda accidentally stepped on a rusty nail protruding from the broken altar. The sharp metal pierced straight through his foot. Though he insisted it was nothing, the wound made it impossible for him to continue. Before being taken to safety, he handed them a metal detector. According to him, traditional graves on Kami Island were buried with offerings, including guiding copper coins placed to lead the soul. If they could locate the coins, they would find Yasumoto's wife's grave. With only 2 hours left before the next high tide submerged the path again, they had no time to waste. The map Kanda had prepared showed only a rough area. Tada and Yoshi searched desperately, scanning the ground inch by inch across the uneven terrain. Sweat mixed with sea mist as anxiety tightened their chests. Heaven seemed to reward their persistence. With barely 30 minutes remaining, the detector finally beeped sharply. They had found it. Following Kanda's instructions, they burned incense and prayed, then carefully placed the doll beside the remains of Yasumoto's wife. At that moment, Yoshi accidentally dropped Mei's photograph into the grave. Without hesitation, she climbed down to retrieve it, ignoring Tada's warnings about the rising tide. As she moved, falling incense, ash brushed against the talismans wrapped around the sack. The binding weakened. The doll inside suddenly stirred. Yoshi scrambled upward, but the doll's cold hand shot out and gripped her ankle, as if trying to drag her into the grave forever. With Tada's frantic effort, she was pulled free. He hurriedly began sealing the grave, shoveling earth back into place. But in the chaos, Yoshi's long hair became entangled in the doll's grasp below. The force from beneath was so strong it felt as though her scalp would be torn away. Thinking quickly, Yoshi smashed the photo frame she had been holding and used a shard of glass to cut off her own hair, freeing herself at the last second, as the grave was finally sealed. The oppressive darkness over the island seemed to lift. The wind softened, the air cleared, and a sense of calm returned. It felt like a new beginning. Relieved beyond words, the couple returned home, believing the nightmare had ended. I rushed into Yoshi's arms, clinging tightly. But then Tada heard a strange mechanical sound from the bathroom. When they entered, they were horrified to see me trapped inside the washing machine. Yoshi hugged her daughter so tightly it nearly suffocated her. Something felt terribly wrong. Tada grabbed a mirror and checked the reflection, then violently pushed the washing machine aside and smashed it open with an iron tool. In that moment, reality fractured. They realized they had never truly left the island. Everything since sealing the grave had been an illusion. The child pulled from the washing machine was not my NIT, was Mei, their deceased eldest daughter. Mei stepped forward and confronted Rei's spirit, then dragged it toward the doorway as if protecting her parents. Yoshi tried to follow, but Tada held her back. In truth, Yoshi herself had nearly been buried alive in the grave earlier. Mei's spirit had pulled her out, sacrificing herself, but even that was not the final truth. The ultimate twist unfolded quietly afterward. The family of 3 appeared to sit together peacefully, sharing a meal. Later, they placed Mai into a stroller and prepared to go out. At that same time, Tada's mother and Kanda arrived downstairs, worried after losing contact. The two groups passed each other at the elevator without interaction. Only after reviewing surveillance footage did Kanda understand his mistake. Yasumoto's wife had attempted to end Rei's suffering, and Rei had grown to resent her mother. The spirit never wanted to return to her grave. It wanted separation. By forcing the reunion, Yoshi and Tada had reignited the curse. Downstairs, the real Mai screamed from inside a parked car when she saw her parents walking away, but they did not respond. As the vehicle drove farther into the distance, the final images revealed the chilling truth. The ones who had left were not Yoshi and Tada as they believed, and the curse had not ended at all. So what really happened at the end of Dollhouse? Just when we think the curse has been sealed on Kami Island, the film pulls the rug out from under us. The happy return home is nothing more than an illusion. The spirit of Rei was never seeking reunion. She resented her mother. By forcing the doll back to the grave, Yoshi and Tada unknowingly reignited the curse instead of ending it. The final elevator scene is chilling. Two realities cross paths, but only one is real. The quiet image of the car driving away tells us the horror didn't stop, it simply changed form. Strengths. The film excels at psychological tension, grief-driven horror, and layered plot twists. The washing machine motif is especially powerful, connecting past trauma to present terror. Weaknesses. Some exposition, especially the Yasumoto backstory, feels rushed and heavy, slightly weakening the emotional payoff. But the core message is clear. Unresolved grief can distort reality. Trying to fix the past without understanding it may only deepen the wound. In the end, Dollhouse isn't just about a haunted doll. It's about how love, guilt, and denial can create monsters of their own.
If you find this video interesting, please give it a like, click on a subscribe button in order not to miss the incoming videos. Goodbye, and see you then.